Are we okay? Can you hear me well? All right, Ji. My name is Jawad Ahmed Fareed, and NIC was kind enough to invite me to speak to all of you today. And I think when they asked me, my thought was कि मैं किस चीज के बारे में बात करूं? What topic should I speak about? Um, I think the challenge as a founder that I see is that we all make mistakes, and we've all been making mistakes for a very long time. And I think I've spoken in the past about mistakes I've made on the technology side, mistakes I've made as a human being. Um, but I think I've only done a handful of sessions on mistakes I've done from the finance point of view. And while I'm a computer scientist at heart and spent a large part of my life working as a technologist, I think finance is a field that I've studied the most. Even before computer science, I would say कि numbers खेलने का शौक बहुत पहले से था और पहली spreadsheet I think the very first one I built when I was working as an intern as a 14-year-old in a small technology company in Karachi. So my thought was that this is a topic that we normally don't think about in terms of technology. And as a technologist myself, I used to often wonder, कि would good technology beat a bad environment, or would cutting edge technology, bleeding edge technology sort of level the playing field if you had not the best of cards or not the right odds? So I think Aaj ka topic is essentially about maybe 7 key lessons from the field of finance applicable to founders. And when I say applicable to founders, these are lessons that I've paid a very heavy price to learn. I thought with hindsight, when I look back, my reaction would be, okay, this is more a question of common sense, not so much finance, but I think you will be the judge of that by the end of this chat. So now, in terms of format, I'm going to go through with the presentation. At any point in time, if you have questions, feel free to stop or ask or interrupt or coordinate with Sana or Hassan or Marjan on the other side. And I'd be happy to answer questions as they come. I'd love to have this to be a conversation rather than a long monologue. All right, ji, shall we start? Bismillah kareem.
Ji, Marjan here. So if there are any questions in between, Jawad, most probably either या असफर होंगे या सना है या मैं हूँ, so we would in between आपको थोड़ा सा नैक करेंगे और कहेंगे कि someone is asking this and this question.
Sorry, Marjan. Jawad sahab, the best way is that people can write their question and then we'll open the mic if necessary. वरना फिर वो बहुत ज़्यादा हो जाता है लोगों का बोलना, तो they'll write their question.
That's fine. Whatever works. I think आप लोग you're the experts, right? So,
जी.
I will do that. ठीक है जी. Shall we start? Bismillah kareem. All right. I think the very first question that I have is, what are sliders? How many of you have heard of sliders? So I just realized that my presentation is very Q&A oriented. So I'm going to ask questions. I think आप लोग ही जवाब दे सकते हैं. You guys can also respond, and you'll represent the proxy for the audience. Gee, so what are sliders? Have you heard of sliders before? Hey, no one? All right. So in the world of food, sliders, especially in the world of fast food, sliders are small, mini-sized, bite-sized burgers.
That's exactly what I had in mind, but I thought कुछ और होगा.
उन्होंने कहा कोई फाइनेंस का होगा, डर लग रहा था कि कुछ गलती हो गई तो फिर क्या होगा.
Absolutely right.
मेरे दिमाग में बिल्कुल वो छोटे वाले बर्गर्स आ रहे थे अभी.
So these are sliders. You know, when you want to try every single flavor on the menu, and you say कि यार बहुत ज़्यादा हो जाएगा, so sliders have been invented for that specific purpose. You know, it's a bite-sized meal. It's not heavy enough to sort of fill you up, but interesting enough to give you a flavor. So आज का topic is also, it's not heavy finance, it's very light finance, and we're going to go step by step, one by one, piece by piece. And there's just a small serving of 7 sliders. So normal serving is about 3, but in our case, it's going to be about 7 topics. So the first topic is opportunity cost. And opportunity cost, I think हम पढ़ते तो बहुत हैं इसके बारे में, but opportunity cost is essentially a question of what we call choices, right? So आपके पास दो दरवाजे हैं, you have to pick one. You can't go through both at the same time. Which door will you open and which door will you walk through? And yes, this is common sense and we use it on a regular basis. In fact, I actually have a list of questions and decisions that we can use. So I think pehla sawal, opportunity cost wise, is which is more important, going for your morning run when you wake up in the morning or check your email. And let's just do a quick vote. You can just raise your hand and say, I would prefer to go for a morning run or a morning fitness routine or a morning exercise session or morning yoga session or morning walk, or I'd rather check email. And despite the fact that we all understand that this is common sense, right? Despite the fact that rationality indicates, health indicates, lifestyle indicates, you should prefer your fitness routine in the morning, that's not what we do. A lot of us, despite the fact we may vote right now to say कि we should go for a morning run, may actually go and end up checking our email. इसी तरह से अगर आप business चलाते हैं, right? If you run a technology business, so should you go for a family vacation, take out time, spend money, invest, or should you invest in a new product? And if you have a large family, let's say you have 3-4 बच्चे हैं, अम्मा अब्बा साथ में हैं, आप और आपकी मिसेज हैं, right? So that's a group of about 8 people. Any vacation, anywhere in the world, चाहे आप कराची से लाहौर चले जाएं, लाहौर से इस्लामाबाद चले जाएं, इस्लामाबाद से नॉर्थ चले जाएं, yeah, you go to an exotic location, there is a substantial amount of expenditure. And even we're not talking about a top-notch red carpet vacation. We should be saying just a nice break for the family to spend time together, right? The amount of money you'd spend for a group of 5 or 6 is enough to actually do a first round POC, proof of concept, minimum viable prototype for a new product. So what should you do? Family vacation or invest in a new product? Which is more important?
Sorry, Jawad sahab, आपकी screen आपने share की हुई है, कुछ नजर नहीं आ रहा है. Like.
Oh, my apologies. I'm so sorry. I thought I had. Give me a second. My bad.
कोई बात नहीं, हम replay कर लेंगे.
Alright, share screen. Really sad about this. I get this, Rafu? Can you see it now?
No, not yet.
There we go. Share. Can you see it now?
जी अब आ रही है. Morning run versus checking email आ रही. जी.
My bad. Alright, so yes, so we were here. Family vacation versus investing in a new product, right? So that's number 2. The third question is office ke hisab se, and this is a common choice that most technology CEOs and technology owners make almost once a year, and that is should you buy a new laptop for work or should you invest in a new air conditioner? Which is important? ठंडी हवा ज्यादा जरूरी है या तेज लैपटॉप ज्यादा जरूरी है? So that's number 3. And again, these are all. So I'm going to ask you to just quickly vote by hand. आप chat पे vote कर लेंगे.
Yes, no कर लेते हैं.
Yes, no.
Y and N. जी.
Y and N. So question number 1. This is number 1. For question number 1, morning run, yeah, check email. Actually, why just all of them? Just pick 2 options, A or B. That's going to be easier. So सवाल is number और इसके आगे A or B कर लेंगे. And this vote count we will do later, right? So question number 1 is morning run versus email, A or B. A is morning run, B is email. Question number 2 is family vacation versus investing in a new product. Again, family vacation is A, investing is B. Question number 3, and this is my favorite, is new laptop for work is A, and new air conditioner for work. Thandi hawa ya tez laptop. Question number 4 is for those of you who write or teach. Should you binge watch a new season that has just been released on Netflix or spend time playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare? Or should you write your new book chapter? Again, A or B. And then number 5 is, should you hire a new employee because you found somebody who's very bright, very sharp, who'll add a lot of value? Or should you build reserves for a slowdown? A or B. तो ये 5 सवाल हैं, right? 5 सवालात में आपके पास 2 choices हैं. A or B? And please go ahead and vote. I'll give you a few seconds to think about this, and then we can move on. Question number one, choice number one is A, morning run versus checking your email. Question number two, family vacation is A, investing in a new product is B. Question number three, new laptop for work or a new air conditioner. Question number four, binge watching a new season of playing Call of Duty or writing a book chapter for your book or a lecture for your class. And question number five, hiring a new employee versus building a new reserve. Alrighty, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Chop, chop, quick. Let's get the votes in. So when I say balancing acts, what I basically mean is that these are all challenges and questions that we face on a daily basis. And opportunity cost is essentially the framework that you use to answer these questions, right? Opportunity cost basically is a balancing act that says, okay, aapke liye kya cheez zaruri hai? And sometimes what we think is more important is in real life a lot less important, or in the long term is a lot less important. Sometimes what we think is less important is more important, right? But the framework is opportunity cost. We may use it every single day without thinking about it. Sometimes we should actually, for big decisions, sometimes we need to step back and think about kiski cost hai. So inhi sawalat ko, let's take a look at it from a different lens. And because I come from the technology world, I think one common question that comes up on a regular basis in my discussion with friends, with students, with partners, with colleagues and with peers from the industry is कि अगर आप technology company चलाते हैं, should you build a product company or should you build a services company? क्या बनाना चाहिए? Product बनानी चाहिए, service बनानी चाहिए? And now remember, this is exactly the same question. Choice between A or B, product or service. Same framework that you've used for deciding and voting and answering questions earlier, same framework would be used here also, product versus services. Now, to really and truly answer this question, it would help if we have more data, right? So let's take a look at some more data. I run a survey. I think I've run it for about 2 years. I ran it in 2018. I ran it in 2019. I normally run it in the November, December, January time frame. And this survey की कहानी actually start ऐसे ही हुई थी. I teach at Habib University and I teach a course on entrepreneurship. And most of the bachas that I teach in that group are either computer science or EE students. कभी कभार कोई गलती से communication and design का या social development policy का बच्चा आ जाता है, but generally these are engineers, CS or EE engineers, right? And we had this intense discussion in the class about product versus services. And I thought, okay, I don't have data. I have an opinion कि क्या बेहतर होना चाहिए और लोग क्यों नहीं करते, but I don't actually have good solid data on कि कितनी product companies पाकिस्तान में हैं, कितनी services company पाकिस्तान में हैं, और product बनाने कोई फायदा भी है, फायदा नहीं है. So if you build a product company, do you have an advantage? Just like I said earlier, one of the questions I used to ask myself was, okay, can good technology beat bad cards? If you've been dealt a bad hand, but you have cutting edge technology, can you still win? Similarly, my big question was, okay, what is better? Is building a product company better or is building a services company better, right? So I ran this survey, started running the survey. पहले informally किया करता था, फिर formally start किया. 2018 was the first run, 2019 was the second run. The total number of participants over the years are about 180, 179. So of these 179 participants, we found out कि 117 कंपनियां हैं, which is almost 2/3 of the group, that have a mixed model. कुछ सर्विस करते हैं, कुछ प्रोडक्ट करते हैं, या पहले सर्विसेज करते थे, प्रोडक्ट करते हैं, या प्रोडक्ट ओरिएंटेड सर्विस करते हैं, या सर्विसेज पैकेज एज प्रोडक्ट करते हैं, but they're not pure product companies. But of these 117, about 47 or 50, just under a third are pure product plays. So in terms of context, what we're saying is that if you look at this data set, we have a mix that is heavily focused towards services, and then about 2/3 do product and services, and about only less than a third do pure products. So the question is, अगर product companies वाकई इतनी शानदार हैं, तो what's the right metric to judge and gauge them by? So we thought long and hard. We spoke about it between ourselves. अच्छा एक काम करते हैं. Let's look at one number, and that number is average annual revenue, साल का revenue per employee per year in dollar terms. And if product companies really have an advantage, and we have enough data, we have 50 of them in our data set, so there must be a significant difference between product companies and service companies when you look at revenues, right? And then right benchmark for this ki kitna difference hai aur kitna fark hai would be to compare this number against the industry average by city. So again, because we ran the survey, and that was the whole point of running the survey, we have some data set, right? Some numbers. We thought we'd look at the average. So this is the industry average, right? So when we ran the survey in 2019, we had 179 companies. I think the most successful was based in Dallas, Texas. Unka yearly revenue saal ka takriban $150,000 a year hai. Here there are a couple of players from Europe. They do almost $100,000 a year per employee. Then there's one in San Francisco, actually not one, 3 or 4 in San Francisco. Unki average, because they have a mixed model, kuch log wahan pe hain, kuch log yahan pe hain, they average about $66,000. Here we have a bunch of companies in Lahore, a bunch of companies in Karachi. You get a sense, right? So if you look at the average, I think the average is about somewhere between $20,000 to $30,000 a year in terms of revenue per employee, right? And on the high side, you've got $150,000. On the low side, I think you've got one company here, which is I think about under $10,000 per employee per year. So far, so good. Fair enough. So then the magic number is there a difference between these two? And if that's the industry average, do product companies earn more or less? And once again, we'll do a quick pop quiz on the chat and we'll compile the votes later. You have two choices. Choice number 1 is A, yes. Product companies should earn more. And choice number 2 is B, and that is no. Product companies don't earn more. Once we get the votes done, we can take a look at the data set from data from the data set and see what the actual answer was. So please go ahead and vote. And again, as I said, these are quick snap votes. You don't have time to think. You have to just react very, very quickly. So 1, 2, 3, go, vote. Two choices. Sawal is, do product companies earn more compared to services companies? And the two choices are yes, product companies earn more. That's an A. Choice number 2 is B, no, product companies do not earn more. Please vote. I'll give you exactly 25 seconds to vote, and then I'll move on to the next slide. Haji. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Get your votes in, and the answer is, there you go. So it's not clear cut. It's actually a function of aapka focus kya hai. Are you focused on the domestic market? Are you focused on the international market, or do you serve both markets? So if you are focused on the domestic market, as per this data set, and remember, I'm just presenting the data. That does not mean that this is true or this is correct or this is accurate. In the sample of the universe of the 180 companies that we have in our data set, in that sample, as per the data shared by them, this is what the results are. This does not mean that this is true, this is reflective for the industry as a whole. This is just representative of the sample that we ran in 18 and 19. It's also not true that this would be true in the future. This is only a historical perspective. Looking backward, this is what the data tells us, right? So mumkin hai kal ye cheez tabdeel ho jaye, ye numbers tabdeel ho jaye. Agar hum 2020 mein survey run karenge, mumkin the factor is very, very different. But again, with this qualification, and that we're just presenting data from the data set, that's not truly representative of the industry, because there are many more companies in the industry, and that this is representative of the information that was shared with us on good faith. On that basis, we find that अगर आप domestic market पे focus करते हैं, if you're only focused on the local market, then you're better off with services. Domestic market में, domestic companies that focus on services do actually a lot better than product companies, and there's a huge difference between this. Now, this could simply be because कि हमारे डेटा सेट में ज़्यादातर कंपनी प्रोडक्ट कंपनीज हुए हैं जो इंटरनेशनल मार्केट में फोकस करती हैं, और जो कंपनी डोमेस्टिक मार्केट में है वो कंपनीज बिल्कुल इनिशियल स्टेज के अंदर है. दैट इज अ पॉसिबल क्वालिफिकेशन दैट दिस is not so much a function of कि product companies don't work. It's possible that these are companies that are in initial stages and their revenue kick has not come in or plugged in. On the international market, if you focus on the international side, where आपका primary focus is on international customers, there is a significant difference. So you're about 25,000 on the services side, but you're almost at about $36,000 on the product side. And then if you have a mixed model, even then you're better off, right? So I'm not going to judge. I'm not going to pass a comment on whether you should build a product company or service. I'm just giving you this data set, right? Now with this data set, where we say कि जी average हमारी 20 से 30 साल के दरमियान में है, and product companies earn a little bit more, the question you have to ask yourself is that products are difficult and expensive. And I've built, I think over the years, if I say I've worked for about 30 years, roughly speaking 30 years, in those 30 years, bulk of the work that I've done has been for product companies in some shape and form. And especially in the last 20 years, it's all been product companies. So, if products are difficult and more expensive, then should you build a product or not? And this differential that you see at the back, ये जो differential है, right? Is this worth it or not? So again, this is the third vote. बनानी चाहिए नहीं बनानी चाहिए? And the question is, should you build products? And once again, the vote is very simple. A is yes and B is no. Based on the information we've shared and presented so far, right? Just based on that data set. Should we build product companies or should we not build product companies? And again, remember, the context is what? The context is we're simply saying, this is a question of opportunity cost. If you run a services company, building a product basically means that somebody has to fund that development. You have to move active resources who are billing by the hour, move them from the regular billable work and shift them to something that may not necessarily pay off in the immediate term, in the short term, or even in the long term. It's a risk. It's a bet. You think you have an idea that might work as a product, it may or it may not. Should you build it or not? Yes or no? A or B? Ultimately, I think the sawal that you're asking yourself is the trade-off worth it? And that's exactly what opportunity cost is all about. Opportunity cost is about evaluating trade-offs. A product company has a very steep learning curve right in the beginning, has a very steep development curve in the sense कि खर्चा बहुत होता है product बनाने में, साल डेढ़ साल 2 साल लगते हैं to get it to a point where you get a sense कि हाँ ये चल जाएगी, this was the right bet, right? You go through maybe about 15, 16 iterations because it gets to a point where it's market worthy and you actually start to see real money, right? A lot of us can't survive. A lot of us can't survive that phase. A lot of us cannot afford to finance that phase. But ultimately, as I said, the question is the trade-off. And that's what opportunity cost is all about, trade-offs. So I think in terms of context, when we think in terms of finance or in terms of common sense, a lot of times we react. We say, ye karna chahiye. Kyun karna chahiye? Because I think this is right. I have a very strong feeling that this is the right time to do this. I think the market is ready. I think we are ready. I think this is a great product. Again, I'd say when you feel like that, and I've made the same mistake. That's the reason I'm sharing. This is a mistake that I made. When you feel something needs to be done, take a step back. Take off the emotional cap. Put on the thinking cap. Think of the trade-offs. Calculate the trade-offs. Balance the trade-offs. And then say, should we do this or not? Same decisions. Morning run versus email. Family vacation versus new product. Laptop versus AC. same thinking that you apply those thinking when you think in terms of building products and ideas. All right, Ji. Now, for those of you who want a deeper discussion about this and you want to sort of do some R&D on this, the keyword, the magic word, the word that answers the question, the trick question, right? Banana chahiye, banana chahiye, is marginal cost. I'm not going to talk about marginal cost right now. I'm going to take it on a little later. But if you want to learn more about why is it worthwhile to build product companies and why am I such a big fan, why I've spent so much time, I think the key answer is marginal cost. If you understand marginal costs, if you understand कि एक incremental unit of service के ऊपर आपके कितने पैसे खर्च होंगे, if you serve another customer कितने पैसे खर्च होंगे, if you deliver an hour of service कितने पैसे खर्च होंगे, if a customer buys a license कितने पैसे खर्च होंगे, these are all related to what we call marginal cost. Incremental cost क्या है? एक नया order, एक नई transaction, एक नया customer, एक नया billable hour serve करने की हमारी true cost क्या है? That's marginal cost, right? Product companies lead, product companies do well because of this specific factor. Product companies are worthy of being done, should explore them if you're interested in reducing marginal cost. If you actually come up with a model that has low marginal cost. But we'll come back to this. You know, there's a lot more to this topic, and I think we'll take some time towards the end to address that. Acha ji, दूसरा सवाल. So this was topic number 1, right? Now let's talk about topic number 2. Topic number 2 is what I call sunk costs. अच्छा, ये भी बात मेरे समझ में नहीं आई. This I think also I learned, and this so एक होती है किताबी knowledge, you know, knowledge that you learn and acquire because you studied in a subject. So finance में opportunity cost, sunk cost बचपन से पढ़ाई जाती है. अगर आप finance पढ़ते हैं तो आपने बहुत शुरू में पढ़ लिया. अगर आपने bachelor's की है, master's की है, in both cases you would have learned opportunity cost and sunk cost right at the beginning. So that's kitabi knowledge. But till you actually pay for it out of your pocket, you don't understand, or you don't learn, or you don't accept, or you know, it's counterintuitive, it doesn't make sense. So sunk cost is also one topic. So मैंने बचपन में पढ़ा था, and college भी पढ़ा, university भी पढ़ा, बहुत साल पढ़ा, लेकिन जब तक पैसे डुबोए नहीं तो समझ में नहीं आया कि sunk cost का मतलब क्या होता है, या sunk cost का lesson क्या है. So sunk cost का lesson है क्या? What's the lesson? Sunk cost का lesson बहुत simple है. Can you fix bad code? I know this sounds like a change in tact and topic and tone, but it's exactly the same question. Can you fix bad code? If one of, and you know, bad code की भी varieties हैं. एक bad code वो है कि आपने देखा अपना बेटा बहुत अच्छा कोड लिखा है तुमने, लेकिन you know ये loop जरा efficient नहीं, थोड़ा सा efficient कर लो. That's fixable. एक bad code वो है कि आपने time लगाया, सर खपाया, सर मारा, and then you figure it out. और एक bad code है, you look at it and you literally cry. आपके आंखों से आंसू टपकना स्टार्ट हो गए. You say, how can you write such bad code? तुम्हें कोडिंग करना किसने सिखाई? You should not do coding at all, right? So that level of bad code, if you see that bad code, can you fix it? Or should you ditch it and bin it and rewrite it all over again? What do you think? There are a lot of technologists on this platform. आपका क्या हाल है? अच्छा, मैं, you know, my first degree is computer science. I started as a computer scientist. I don't think I've written a line of code in the last 6 years. But till about 6 years ago, I would still look at code or review code, and I still every now and then open up something to trace it or see what's happening, or work or sit down with somebody to figure out what's happening, right? But my question now is, can you fix bad code? And again, two choices are A or B. Yes, you can. No, you shouldn't. That at heart is the debate behind sunk cost. Because what sunk cost basically says is कि अगर आपने किसी चीज पे 4 साल काम किया है, should you factor that time in your decision? Or should you figure out कि यार ये खत्म होगा, खत्म नहीं होगा, or should we just wrap it up? So at the point that you're about to give up, at the point that you're about to shut things down, at the point that you're saying, I'm going to walk on, move on, do something else with my life, this is not worth it, right? At that specific point in time, when you're making that call, what do you look at? Do you look at कि 4 साल जान लगाई इसके ऊपर, 4 साल मेहनत की, 4 साल दाया हो जाएंगे? Or do you say कि 4 साल और मजदूरी करनी पड़ेगी, 4 साल और जुल्म सहना पड़ेगा? What works better? When you make that call in terms of looking back or looking forward, should you look backward or should you look forward? So essentially, sunk cost is also about evaluating the cost of failure. You tried to attack a problem or tackle a problem, and that problem didn't work out as well as you thought. Now, should you move on to another problem? Should you shut that chapter and do something more worthwhile with your time? Or should you just keep on butting your head? And I think this question, evaluating the cost of failure, and this question, this is a very personal question. For some of us, it's not about giving up. It's about, I'm not going to accept this failure. Some of us, the problems that we're working on are so important, would have so much impact that we say, I'm going to kill myself working hard till I figure out how to solve this problem, because I'm not going to give up. Some of them are so personal, so close, so important, that we say, giving up is not an option. But there are others where giving up is an option. And when the time comes for you to give up, what should you do? Should you look at the past, kitna time lagaya hai, or should you look at the future? So the answer is future. Sunk cost का primary concept ये कि जो पैसे लगाए, जो time लगाया, वो खत्म हो गया, वो ज़ाया हो गया, वापस नहीं आने वाला. That's gone. That's like it's a decision that cannot be reversed. So what should factor in? What you spend is not the decision. What you will have to spend, what you will have to invest, what you'll have to put in, right? That's the key driver. The key driver is not the history. The key driver is not backward. The key driver is not behind your shoulders. The key driver is what's in front of you. आगे जिंदगी में क्या रखा है? आगे कितना टाइम लगाना पड़ेगा? आगे कितनी जान लगानी पड़ेगी? Is that worth it? Do you have in it to give more? And are you ready for it? And do you think it's worth it, right? So again, you go back to the same question again, which was question number one, which is opportunity cost. Opportunity cost and sunk cost are related to each other. However, while we think about opportunity cost, a lot of us are married to the past. We don't invest enough in the future. When the time comes for you to decide and evaluate whether this is worthwhile, don't look at कि पहले कितना time गया, कितनी जान लगाई, कितना invest किया. Look at the future. और कितना time लगाना पड़ेगा, और कितनी जान लगानी पड़ेगी, और कितना invest करना पड़ेगा. All right, so that's two topics, right? Third topic is forecasting the future. This is very interesting because I've been building models for a very long time. And model building में and programming में, computer science में and computational finance में, which is my field, in चारों पांचों में there is this common theme that we see again and again and again. And that theme is a lot of us are so focused on building. Product बना लें, tool बना लें, model बना लें, program बना लें. We're so focused on building. We don't think about why are we building it, right? So with model building also, I think there is a common mistake, and this happens everywhere. Even if you're not from the field of finance, even if you run a technology startup, ultimately तो आपको अपने financials बनाने पड़ेंगे. You have to basic सवाल है कि आज क्या तारीख है? आज 22 तारीख है, 21 तारीख है, 24 तारीख है. अगर आज 21 तारीख है और आपने 4 दिन के बाद पेरोल प्रोसेस करनी है, तो पैसे कहाँ से आएंगे? That's basic finance, right? इतना तो करना पड़ता है. That's a model. पैसे कहाँ से आएंगे? अगले महीने के पैसे कहाँ से आएंगे? Also a model. उसके अगले महीने के पैसे कहाँ से आएंगे? Also a model, right? That's basic model building. So while we think, a lot of time when I talk to people about financial model building, it's like a keyword. It's like a magic word. I say that magic word and things shut down. People stop thinking, right? But essentially, we build models almost on a daily basis. So one of the models that we build is forecasting the future. अगले महीने के पैसे कहाँ से आएंगे? उसके अगले महीने के पैसे कहाँ से आएंगे? अगर मैं ये एम्प्लॉई रखता हूँ, ये 4 लोग ऐड करता हूँ अपनी टीम के अंदर, उनकी तनख्वाह कहाँ से आएगी, right? Model. So how do you forecast the future? What are some of the rules that you should look at? And while, again, some finance, some common sense, and some model building. So there is a place in Karachi that's called Dodariya. That's where, Karachi is. That's where the creeks meet, right? And I used to run before the COVID-19 episode happened with a group of fellow runners, and this is a point where we spent a lot of time on because ये हमारा midway turn point है. तो वहां पे जब आप सुबह जाएं फजर के फौरन बाद, बिफोर सनराइज, there is a stream of boats that goes out into the ocean or into the sea to fish. मेरा सवाल आपसे ये है कि ये जो मछेरा है, when he sets off in the morning, he must also have a model, right? His model is also कि where will I go? Where will I fish? Where will I cast my nets? And then depending on the catch, will there be enough left over to pay the kharcha of everybody that's on the boat with me, to pay the kharcha of the boat itself, to pay, the licensing fees and the fishing license? And would there, at the end of the day, would there be enough left over for me to actually take money home? That's also a model. So what model does he use? How does he decide where is he going to fish? How does he decide that aaj is a good day to fish? How does he decide that, if you think about this picture was taken roughly at about, hum sardiyon ki baat kar rahe hain, so this would be about 6:30 baje subah. So 6:30 in the morning, for him to be at this point at 6:30 a.m. in the morning, he must have gotten at about 4:30 a.m. So how does he decide that aaj subah 4:30 baje utna hai? Taki I can be at this point at 6:30. And that's not, his is not the only boat, right? There are a lot of other boats. Ye to humne frame ki bhi picture, so you can see, but ultimately, what model does he or she uses? ये एक और मॉडल है, COVID-19. I think मैंने बहुत सोचा कि I should use this slide or not, but I thought, it's again interesting context. What does this model show? This model shows in the center an average trend across the world. For new infections. Now, if you see, you can see that the shuru mein rise, फिर थोड़ा सा flat, फिर rise, that's a general curve, and then there's another steep curve at 40. But that model is the average model. It's not true for this country here. It's not true for this country here. And it's certainly not true for this country here. It's an average model. अगर आप यहाँ पे देखें, there's a huge error for this country. There's also a huge error for this country, and for this country, and for this country. So there are many models, right? हम जो एक बड़ी कॉमन मिस्टेक करते हैं मॉडलिंग के, तो करते हैं कि हम मॉडल उठा लेते हैं और अप्लाई कर लेते हैं. Models are not like that. Models actually change. They need to be tweaked. They need to be set in the right and correct context. ये एक और मॉडल है. तो पहले हमने कोविड की बात की, अब हम सोने की बात करते हैं. This is a model that actually shows you the actual price of gold. So जो आपको blue, नीली, dark blue, light blue, whatever blue color this is, right? The line नजर आ रही है, ये जो line नजर आ रही है आपको, right? This line. This is the actual price of gold. और उसके साथ एक मॉडल है. And you can clearly see that from 1st April 2011 to 23 August 2011 तक, the simulated gold price fit the actual gold price very well. So from a modeling point of view, this is a great model. But this ignores a simple concept. What is a simple concept? That simple concept is, this model is only valid as far as we look backwards. There is no assurance, there is no guarantee that this model would be valid beyond this point. So on the left side of the day line, of the timeline, जहाँ पे हमारे पास historical price visible है, the model fits. On the right side, which is this side, where we don't know where prices are, we don't know how the model is going to work. And that's a challenge. Models are great at fitting data, historical data, to history. Not all models are as good when it comes to extending that trend to the future. So by definition, what we're saying is all models are wrong. सारे मॉडल गलत हैं. And अगर आप सोचें इसके बारे में, think about it for a second, right? What is a model? A model basically says कि I'm going to simulate or forecast or predict or fit real behavior by looking at some approximation proxy points. Very few models if you look at any simulation, and if you study simulation in engineering, look at any simulation. Simulations assume behavior. They impose an equation. They model outlook based on some understanding of physical phenomena. So they're not perfect. And if they're not perfect and the outlook's not perfect, कुछ reasonable है, कुछ okay है, कुछ ठीक है, कुछ बहुत बेकार है, but by definition they're all wrong. However, the models that we end up using are models that are more useful than others. So while we understand, and this is the qualification, that's what I said earlier, when I was presenting the data for the technology industry, I said this is based on the data that's in my hand. That data is not a reflection of the real world, because the real world is far more complex. It's just a sample. And as a sample, it gives us some insights. Now, those insights may or may not be true, but those insights can certainly be investigated. And those insights can certainly give us food for thought. So similarly here also, all models are wrong. Some models are more useful than others. COVID-19, my fisherman friend from Dodariya, and Sona, all three are models. All three, by definition, are wrong some days or right some days. All three, by definition, are wrong. So if that's the context, how do you apply modeling to revenues and markets? कैसे करेंगे? If the ethos, if the fundamental foundation of your thinking is driven by this point that I just made, that all models are wrong, how do you model revenues and markets? Should you? Shouldn't you? Should you even present, given the fact that you know that they're wrong? Or that they are going to be wrong? Should you invest any time in building them or not? Basic question, right? Should you or shouldn't you? क्या आपको model बनाना चाहिए नहीं बनाना चाहिए? And how wrong could you possibly be, right? So, how wrong could you possibly be? Simple question. I follow oil. I won't say I'm an oil analyst, but I follow oil. I follow oil because oil has been of interest since 2008. In 2008, oil wiped me out. Wiped me out basically means wiped me out. Oil played a significant, huge, phenomenal role. So the 2008 financial crisis had many implications, had many consequences, but one big consequence was it wiped me out as a trader. Because I took a bet on oil, then I was wrong. And since then, I followed oil because oil is sort of like an old friend, old enemy. I don't know how, more of a friend, because it taught me a very expensive, very valuable lesson, very painful lesson. And since then I followed oil, I see क्या हो रहा है, कहाँ जा रहा है, किधर जा रहा है, right? So अगर आप 2008 से लगाएं, actually my love affair with oil starts in 2006, 2006 से I've been following oil. 2008 में I 2008 में I got wiped out. मैंने अपना सबक नहीं सीखा. I think 2012 is again when I got wiped out. 2012 के बाद मैंने तौबा कर ली कि नहीं खेलना इसका. I don't want to play with it. Still follow it, still read about it, still be interested in seeing how it works and behaves, but I want to play with it. So what's the future of oil? तेल के साथ क्या हो रहा है, कहाँ जा रहा है? अब आप अगर context की बात करें, right? If you think in terms of context, this is a beautiful chart from Bloomberg, courtesy of Reuters. It actually gives you the entire history of oil. And this history, if you look at this, will basically stop at this point in time. And this point in time is essentially the start of 2020. तो आप अगर हिस्ट्री देखें तो बड़े-बड़े माइलस्टोन्स में 1991 की इराक, यूएस इराक वॉर है, पहली इराक वॉर, राइट? फिर आपके पास चाइना कमोडिटी सुपर साइकिल है, फिर आपके पास गोल्डमैन सैक्स की फोरकास्ट है, प्रेडिक्शन है कि जी $200 का ऑयल हो जाएगा, फिर आपके पास ग्लोबल फाइनेंशियल क्राइसिस है इन 2008, फिर आपके पास ईरान के सैंक्शंस हैं, अरब स्प्रिंग है, लिबियन सिविल वॉर है, फिर आपके पास स्लो डाउन है, फिर आपके पास OPEC प्लस व्हिच वाज बेसिकली अ कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ OPEC एंड रशिया, फिर आपके पास यूएस चाइना की ट्रेड वॉर है, और फिर ये एंड ऑफ OPEC है. एंड ऑफ OPEC में आप खड़े हैं एट अबाउट $28. And so it came down and then went up again. But did any of us think or thought? And now it's a moot point. जब मैंने presentation बनाई थी तो this had not sort of gotten the limelight, but given what happened over the last 3 days, Everybody's speaking about it. So you must have seen or heard, right? You must have seen and heard this. But even this, if you see, is still above zero. This is actually the $11 ki कीमत, which is about 2 days ago. What doesn't include is what happened afterwards. So what happened afterwards? पिछले 2 दिन में क्या हुआ? ये जो हम फिगर देख रहे हैं यहाँ पे, right? Where did it go? It went to, so there are multiple measures, multiple metrics in the field of trading oil, right? एक metric is what we call the price at which you can, physical price, जिस पे आप तेल physical markets जाके खरीद सकते हैं, right? The physical price is $16. फिर एक paper price है, and paper price is the price at which you can buy oil in the market, right? तो एक आप तेल, literally you take a balti or a gadi or a basin or a tanker with you and you buy oil. Physical oil is about $16 a barrel, and you just move 16 to $22 a barrel, right? और एक is paper oil. Paper oil is you call your broker and say तेल खरीद लो, and the broker goes and buys a trading contract that gives him oil, right? So physical oil is 16 to $20. Paper oil went as low as minus $37. How do you make sense of this world? You can only make sense of this world if you understand the context. If you don't understand the context, if you just try and model something that you don't understand, if you try and model revenues or markets in which you don't have exposure, in which you don't have background, in which you don't have context, in which you haven't taken out the time to understand context, your model won't be just wrong. They'll be off by orders of magnitude. So before you model revenues, before you model oil, understand the context. Think about the fact कि ये क्यों हुआ? How can physical oil, actual oil, can be purchased for $16 to $20, but paper oil, trading contracts on oil, are trading at minus $37? If you have context, you can answer this question very, very easily. If you don't have context, you can't answer this question. If you have context, you can model for it. If you don't have context, your model will have no room for such a scenario. And when that happens, your models will break. So this, it's not that this hasn't happened before. पहले भी हो चुका होगा, I'm sure. We'll have to go through history to see कि कब हुआ. Not the first time this happened. But if you hadn't factored that in because your model did not accommodate it or include it, then sorry, your model would break. And when your model breaks, everything else breaks with it. So key lessons and takeaways क्या हैं हमारे from the modeling world? And again, just trying to keep it very short and simple and bite-sized, slider size, right? Models are tricky. Models are tricky because data is tricky. इस trend में अगर आप देखें तो this is going up. And normally when I ask people, अच्छा अब आगे क्या होगा? यहाँ तो सही है, यहाँ पे क्या होगा? Most people think अच्छा flatten out हो जाएगा, ये ऊपर चढ़ जाएगा, बस 2 चीजें. Some people say गिर जाएगा. कितना गिरेगा? How much would it fall by? And what is it? Well, this is the housing prices. US housing prices. 2008, 2011. That's the magic point. ये सही से लाइन नहीं आई. ये 2007 there we go. They start falling and they just kept on falling, right? Across the board. From a modeling point of view, if you model for this, if you couldn't have modeled for this, your models were wrong. And that essentially was at the heart of the 2008 crisis. Our models were wrong. And when I say our models were wrong, all our models were wrong. There were some people who were smart enough to see and model for it correctly, and their models were right. But the rest of the world, including my models, all of our models were wrong. It's not that we didn't have context, not that we didn't have background, not that we hadn't read about the people who thought that the models were wrong and were saying your models are wrong, your models are wrong, your models are wrong. But when they said that to us at that point in time, what did we say to them? We said, "Tum pagal ho? Are you mad? This has never happened in the world. You're wrong. You're off. Sure, I'll take your money. It's free money." So context in the modeling side is very important. If you have context, you can win. If you don't have context, you don't win, right? Context also gives you questions, which then brings me to the next point, which is focus on the questions. Don't focus on modeling. ये एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट सवाल है. देखें, कॉम्प्लेक्स मॉडल बनाना बहुत आसान है. सिंपल सीधे साधे मॉडल से कॉम्प्लेक्स इंसाइट निकालना बहुत मुश्किल है. तो मुश्किल काम करें, आसान काम ना करें. आसान काम है कॉम्प्लेक्स मॉडल बनाओ, कुछ समझ में ना आएगा. बहुत अच्छा लगेगा, it look very nice and pretty on your Excel spreadsheet, and you'll spend ages working on it and playing with it and tweaking it, but it's not worthwhile. So build a simple model that answers simple questions. And as long as, and this is the key part, as long as you focus on the right question, your model will always be useful. So the technology, the tool, the language, the platform, the amount of time you invest, that's not important. What's important is that you have clarity of thinking, that you have clarity of thought on what's the question I'm trying to answer with this model. And once I know what that question is, what's the simplest way of building that model? If I have that, I'm good. If I don't have that, I'm lost. अभी एक मॉडल और आ गया आपके सामने, right? So I teach finance. I teach portfolio optimization models as a course, right? And this is a model that we build in portfolio optimization. What this model basically says is if you look at the top 15, 20 technology companies and consumer companies, right? So if you look in terms of names, this is Nike, this is Tupperware, this is MetLife, this is Merck, the pharmaceutical, this is JCPenney's, this is Potassium, a fertilizer company, this is General Tires, this is Apollo Education, this is Microsoft, Apple, Yahoo, Google, Nasdaq, and NICE. And this is their performance over a 8 or 9 year period from 2008 to 2016. अब इसका क्या करेंगे आप? तस्वीर तो बहुत अच्छी है, it looks really pretty, right? It's a surface. But what do you do with it? अचार डालेंगे, क्या करेंगे? You can't use it, right? Unless and until you have the context. And more importantly, you know what the question you're looking for. So the question we're trying to answer with this image and graph is, how do I make money trading on this data? That's the question I'm trying to answer. How do I make money trading on this data? But again, if you have context, you can read this graph or this data set or this image and say, aise kar le, aise paise banenge. But if you don't have context, you don't have the background, or you don't know the question, कि मैंने पैसे कैसे बनाने, this is worthless. You can't do anything with it. So what are the right questions to ask? When you're building model, what are the right questions to ask? And remember, the focus is not on model complexity. The focus is on what are the right questions to ask. So the right question to ask is, what's the objective? Kyun kar rahe hain? Why are we doing this? What do we want to learn? Who are we doing it for? Who's going to use it? Istemal kaun karega? What would invalidate our analysis? What would break the model? What did we expect to see? And how is that different from what we see? Any one of them is a good question to ask. Two of them is even better. Most of us won't get to all 8 of them, but that's fine. These are again sample questions, these suggested questions. अगर आप model बना रहे हैं, model बनाने से पहले ask yourself, why are we doing this? What do we expect to learn? What's the objective? Here, after this, what's the next point? The next point is the lens matters. Sometimes you have to dig into the data and look at close. Sometimes you have to take 10,000 view, right? Why does the lens matter? The lens matter in terms of history. We just saw the oil diagram from Bloomberg earlier, the entire history of oil from 1991 to 2020, right? That's 30 years of data. History gives you important lesson. Here's another set. This is another 30 years of data. And this is interest rates or treasury yield curve or USD treasury yield curves, right? What does that teach you? Even if you just look at it, you can see rates are coming lower, right? But you also know for a fact that at one point in time, they actually got this high. Are we ever going to get back to that time? I don't know. Should I model for it? Absolutely. So sometimes the lens matters. How far back you go in history gives you more context, more data. Study history. If you want to build models, if you're interested in building models, take out time to study history. And when I say history, don't just look at a single view of history. Look at conflicting views. Look at accounts from both sides of the border. Don't just look at accounts from one side. Look at accounts from both sides so that you have context. Context is key if you want to be a model builder. If you have context, you will win. If you don't have context, you are lost. No, I think I'm going to run out of time, but I'm going to take 10 minutes and wrap it up. Now, the last part in the model building world is a simple test, relative value. Relative value is a simple question. That simple question is, I'm going to come back to this graph later. That simple question is this. How many civics for a 1,000 square yard plot in DHA? If a civic costs 4 million today, fully loaded, right? What does a 1,000 square yard plot in DHA cost? And DHA is, DHA is different. There's a DHA in Ava, there's a DHA in Pindi, there's a DHA in Lahore, there's a DHA in Karachi, from what I've heard, there's possibly a DHA in Gwadar. So if you're looking for DHA plots, and let's look at, because, NIC Karachi, speaking of Karachi and I have Karachi data, what's the price of a 1,000 square yard plot in DHA today? We know a civic costs 4 million, right? How much does a 1,000 square yard plot cost? Let's pick a number. Let's pick an arbitrary number. Let's say in 2020, a 1,000 square yard plot right now costs, say, 100 million. That's
15 crore. That's 15 crore.
15 crore. All right. 150 million, right? So a 1,000 square yard plot costs 100 million. A civic costs 4 million, which basically means 1,000 square yard cost is essentially equivalent to 25 civics. So the question you want to ask is, remember, सवाल क्या पूछना चाहते हैं हम? Question you want to ask is कि civic ज़्यादा महंगी है या 1,000 square yard का plot ज़्यादा महंगा है? Which is more expensive? Is a civic more expensive or a 1,000 square yard plot more expensive? Right? And this is in relative value, relative terms. But relative to what? Relative to 20 years ago. If you go back to 2000, 20 years ago, how much did a new civic cost at that point in time? And how much did a 1,000 square yard plot cost at that point in time? That in essence is relative value, right? Civics for 1,000 square yard plots. Now, going back to the graph before, is the same question. Question that shows you if you took an ounce of gold, if you bought an ounce of gold, how many barrels of oil did that get you? So in 2005, that got you about 9 barrels. An ounce of gold got you 9 barrels. In 2012, it got you 24 barrels. And there's a trend, right? There's a trend. There's an average trend that shows you where it's going. So, we spoke about oil earlier. We said oil's trading at between 16, let's say $15. Let's also assume gold is trading at $1,500. An ounce of gold can buy you how many barrels today? At $15 and $1,500 per ounce of gold. Assuming, right? We're just using ease of convenience, ease of calculation, well-rounded prices. The actual price will be different. 15 and 1,500. An ounce of gold can buy you 100 barrels of oil. So now the question that you have to ask yourself is, which is more expensive? Tel ya sona? Oil ya gold? Which is more expensive? Simple question. If you apply the framework of relative value, the same framework we discussed above, right? Civics for a 1,000 square yard plot in DHA. That framework tells us that gold is expensive and oil is cheap. Should you buy gold now at this point in time? You think gold's going to go rise higher? You think gold's going to come down lower? Again, this is a simplistic model, right? The simplistic model has simplistic answers. To apply those answers, to decide whether those answers are correct or not, you must have context. If you don't have context, you're lost. Look for context. When you're building models, look for context. And that's essentially the last point. The last point is the big money is not in building models. I've been building models for 30 years. The big money is not in building models. And the big money is certainly not in building complex models. I build a lot of complex models every year, but there is no big money in there. The big money is not in models. The big money is intuition. Intuition is linked to context. Build context, build intuition. Intuition कैसे build करते हैं? आपको मैंने पहले भी बात दिखाया था, right? And I asked you a simple question, क्या करें इसका चार्ट डालो? What do we do with this? You can only work with this if you have intuition and context. Intuition comes from being wrong, from making mistakes. In the model building world, your value goes up as you make more and more mistakes. Because when you make mistakes, in most instances, you learn from them. You build an internal framework. You internalize them. So be wrong. If you want to build models, you have to be wrong. Be wrong. This, by the way, is the solution, right? I'd ask you this question, पैसे कैसे बनाएंगे? पैसे बनाने का एक ही तरीका है. You actually have to find a path. You have to find a path that works. You have to find a path where if you start here, it gets you to a point here where you have maximum value. That's basically optimization problem, right? If you work with problem spaces, if you work in computational finance, if you work in numerical models, optimization is basically finding paths that optimize your journey, right? That's it. अगर आपने computer science पढ़ी है, there's a traveling salesman problem, right? How do you find the path that minimizes your cost? Find a path here that minimizes your cost and maximizes gains. That's the model. But you can't build that model if you don't have context. So be wrong. Intuition, context, and being wrong are the three most important gifts you can give yourself in the model building world. Achha, next topic is optionality. Optionality kya hai? Optionality is essentially choices. So again, going back to choices. So ये मेरी whiteboard की तस्वीर यहाँ पे इसलिए है because at heart I am a teacher, right? And one of the years when I was teaching at Habib, I built this and this looked like a really nice, pretty picture. And I thought कि मैं इसकी तस्वीर खींच लेता हूँ, कभी ना कहीं इस्तेमाल हो जाएगी, तो ये आज इस्तेमाल होगी, right? What this shows is me teaching. You can't see me obviously because I hate showing myself, but you see me teaching on a board. I hate teaching online. अगर आप मुझसे पूछें, it's not I'm new to the online world. I've been teaching online since 1999. 1999, I built a technology company that focused on selling or teaching corporate finance courses online, right? So 1999 और 20 21 साल हो गए, 21 साल से पढ़ा रहा हूँ, 21 साल से online पढ़ाने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ, right? In some shape and form, on off, right? So, but despite the fact that I have this long association with the teaching world, I hate teaching online. I love teaching in a class. I love engagement with my students. I love the back and forth of questions. I live for that moment when as a teacher, you can see a student make that connection. When you're explaining something to him and his eyes open up wide and says, oh, I didn't see that. I just see it. This is what teachers live for. That's what gives meaning to our life. You think I can see that here when I'm teaching online? Do you think I can see any of you saying, oh, I didn't see the world this way? I can't. I can't have the interaction. I can't have the engagement. I can pose questions. I can force it. I can do votes. You can raise hands. We can have a chat, but it's not the same. So as a teacher, as an instructor, as somebody who lives for opening minds of his students, teaching online just sucks royally. But in the current context, you actually don't know whether I'm sitting in Karachi or sitting in Thailand by the beach running this session. Can you? I just logged on. I know jahaz band hai, rasta band hai, flight band hai, right? I know सब कुछ visas band, सब कुछ बंद, everything shut down. So there's a reason I'm in Karachi, but you don't. You don't know if I'm sitting by the beach in Thailand and running the session, which I should. I think that's the interesting part. Despite the tragedy, despite the complexity, despite the damage, despite the disruption, one interesting thing that's come out of this is to make sessions like these possible. And in the absence of a real room with a whiteboard, with markers, with students that ask questions and they say, "Oh, I didn't see this." In the absence of that world, I'll settle for this one. I'll settle for a world where I can teach. Because while teaching in a classroom is certainly significantly better than teaching online is still better than not teaching at all. That's optionality. That optionality requires me to be comfortable with teaching online. That optionality requires me to have a fast broadband connection, a laptop with a touch screen, an audience, a platform where people will come and hear me speak. Without any of these items, without any of these elements, I can't teach online. So to build in that optionality, in most instances, you have to spend a little extra. You have to spend a little extra for that fast, low lag broadband connection. You have to spend a little extra for a studio quality mic. You have to spend a little extra for a laptop with a touchscreen. Because at some point in time, in my case, I teach, so I use these in any case, right? But at some point in time, you actually come to a world in a parallel universe where all you'd be able to do would be teach online. And if you're a teacher at heart, if you live for teaching, then not teaching at all will kill you. That's optionality. Now, in the software world, in the technology world, and in the finance world, it's also a good way of handling uncertainty. So optionality increases in value when uncertainty increases. The fact that we don't have clarity, कि अगले महीने क्या होगा? Will we be open? Can you answer that question for sure? You think we'll be open at the end of this month? At the end of May? At the end of June? You think we'd be able to travel to Thailand in July or August or September or October or November or December? We don't. That's uncertainty. Will we be able to go back to our offices and work together as teams as we used to do before? We don't. We don't know the answer. We hope, and we inshallah, we all hope and pray that ye ho jayega. But to be sure, to be frank, to be certain, we don't. We don't have the answers. So when you don't have the answers, when you're not sure how things are going, build an optionality. What's the value of optionality? Building products for the world. सिर्फ अपने market के ना बनाएं. When you think in terms of exploring ideas for products or services, when you think in terms of building solutions, don't build solutions locked into one market. Think in terms of, अच्छा, अगर कभी ऐसा वक्त आया that we build up something that gets to be used all across the planet, how should that scenario affect, impact, change our design today? And when you build products for the world, and that's what we did, we build products that got used in Pakistan, that get used in the Middle East, that get used in the Far East, that get used in Africa. We build those products. But we didn't start with building those products on day one. On day one, all we did was we said, कभी तो ऐसा वक्त आएगा कि ये फैक्टर, ये पैरामीटर, ये डिजाइन डिसीजन would prove to be wrong, would be incorrect. So when that time comes, and that's the question we asked ourselves, when that time comes, what would be the design choice that we make today that would make the rework, make the things we need to do to change, would make the cost of that rework lowest. So when that time comes, when whatever we've decided today is proven to be wrong, and we have to rework all of this all over again, what can we do today to minimize that rework? That's optionality. That's spending a little extra so that you have more flexibility, you have more choices when you need them. How do you build optionality? You build optionality by building small bets, by taking small bets. What do small bets do? Small bets reduce your risk. Small bets reduce your exposure. Small bets reduce the cost of failure, reduce the cost of being wrong when the time comes to show you that you were wrong. So हमारी finance की world में there is a concept called Kelly's criteria, and Kelly's criteria basically looks at what should be your bet size. So for example, in the startup world, if you think in terms of winning, most of us in terms of winning are here. And then there's something called a concept called an edge, right? An edge is how strong, how likely are you to outperform the market or outperform the competition, right? So let's say your edge is 1.4, you're 40% better than the competition, and your chances of winning are 35%. How much should you invest as a founder? Can you read the script? तो अगर probability कम होगी तो आप यहाँ आएंगे, बढ़ेगी तो आप यहाँ जाएंगे. If you increase your edge, you'll go in this direction. So this and this correspond to this number. Even if you're 40% better and your chances of winning are 1 in 3, you shouldn't bet at all. In the real world, you're about maybe 10 to 15% better. And your odds of winning are always less than 50%. You're not sure. If your odds are that better, then you're no longer in what you'd call a typical startup founder mode, right? There are always risks, there are always chances. So if you're less than 45%, if you're 45% and about 15% better, should you invest? No, you shouldn't. So this is your rational criteria, right? It's called Kelly's criteria. If you're interested in the world of decision making or optimization or portfolio optimization, this is the space you look into. So Kelly's criteria, what Kelly's criteria is telling you right now is that the probability of winning and your edge determine the amount and the size of your bet. So your most common bet size is in this space. You should bet between 2% to 15% of your net worth on ideas that you're sure will have even odds and where you have a significant edge. And if you don't have even odds and you don't have a significant edge, should you invest? You shouldn't. So you shouldn't basically means this is for rational thinkers. We are not necessarily rational thinkers. As founders, as technologists, as people who start businesses, a lot of times we make irrational choices. How do you reduce the risk of those irrational choices? By taking small bets. So just because I'm saying you should not invest does not mean that you will not invest. There's a reasonable chance that you will invest. But to reduce your level of pain, the threshold of pain, to ensure that whatever net worth you have, whatever small amount of wealth you carry right now, to ensure that that wealth level is optimized over a long period of time, take small bets. Don't make large bets. Don't bet the farm. And yeah, this is very counterintuitive thinking. When you think in terms of, it's a sure thing. Order guaranteed hai. If you build it, you ship it, they will buy it. Sure thing. There is no such thing as a sure thing. Small bets. Stay with small bets. Get more data. That's what small bets do. Get more data and then decide. Chadi. And now, very, very quickly, specialize, yes, scale. So I'm going to fast track this because I'm running out of time. Specialization, scale, which comes first? In the product world, which is where I come from, should you specialize or should you scale first? The correct answer is specialization. पहले स्पेशलाइज करें फिर स्केल करें. अच्छा, अब इसमें जो की कॉन्सेप्ट है वो कॉन्सेप्ट ये कि जब आप when you come up with an idea, this is a terrific book on innovation, and within that, and I'll share the name, I just have to look it up, I've forgotten the name of the author in the book, but the concept is very simple. The concept is a network increases in value as you add nodes to it, right? That's the Metcalfe's law. That's the power of network, or the value of a network law, right? So a network with 2 nodes is less valuable than a network with 3. One with 3 is less valuable than a network with 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8, right? So as you add nodes to a network becomes more valuable. Similarly, when you expose an idea is a network. As you expose an idea to more people, the value of that idea goes higher, becomes higher. And this is very counterintuitive to a typical traditional technology founder's mindset. Our mindset is कि कोई चुरा लेगा. कोई कॉपी कर लेगा, कोई लेके भाग जाएगा, किसी और के पास चला जाएगा, कोई हमसे बेहतर कर लेगा, तो कर लेगा तो करने दो. If they really do it well, then take it, let them do it. But the fear of exposing your ideas is essentially limiting you here and keeping you from getting to a stage where your ideas become. Now, when we say how come the value of an idea increases as more people see it, more people critique it, more people improve it. This presentation is an example, right? This is the 5th time I'm doing this. And by doing it 5 times, every time I expose it to more people, it improves. Just the fact of rehearsing it, presenting it, preparing it, updating it, improves it. Then your commentary, your feedback. So, this is an hour and a half of my life that I'm never going to get back. Why did you do this? आपने तो सुला दिया, आपने तो रुला दिया, right? These are all comments, valid comments, right? How is this relevant to the startup world? Valid comment. Your comments, your suggestions, your critique, your feedback improves the idea. A really old mentor from 20 years ago said this to me, not just to me, but to all of us when he was teaching us. He said this: feedback is a gift. So feedback is truly a gift because feedback on your ideas improves the value of that idea. Alright, fixed cost and variable cost. I'm going to shorten this, and the shortened part is Emirates Airline. Emirates Airline runs a fleet of A380s. Do you have any idea how much does an A380 cost? अंदाज़न सोच लें जरा. कितनी कॉस्ट होगी? So rough ballpark figure अगर आप ले लें, right? So that's a rough ballpark figure, right? And again, the actual cost varies from airline to airline because you've got a special deal with either Boeing or Airbus, depending on who you're buying the aircraft from. But that's the number. So obviously, cost distribute kar lein aap, it's supposed to run almost non-stop because that's how aircraft are designed and that's how they make money, right? What do you think is the operating cost of an A380? So अगर जहाज पे भी अगर A380 ground पे भी खड़ा हुआ है, park भी हुआ है, how much money should an airline make on a daily basis just to break even on an A380? And that number for the A380 in the case of Emirates Airline, and again we're looking at ballpark figures, right? Approximate figures. Let's assume that number is about $1 billion a day. So Emirates Airline के पास कितने A380s हैं? Emirates Airline has 150 A380s that cost $1 million a day to run. But what are those A380s doing right now? अभी क्या कर रहे हैं? And where are they? They're parked. So you can't earn $1 million on an A380 if you parked. And if airline such as Emirates has 150 A380s, then Emirates losing about $150 million a day just on the A380 fleet. Then it also has a 777 fleet. That's fixed cost. So fixed cost का मसला क्या है? Fixed cost का मसला ये है. I'm going to skip this. Fixed cost का मसला ये है कि larger fixed costs reduce your flexibility. We spoke about optionality earlier. Optionality improves your flexibility. Fixed cost reduce your flexibility. If you have high fixed cost, you reduce the optionality, the flexibility you have as an organization. If you have low fixed cost, you improve your flexibility. You improve your ability to react to uncertainty. Emirates Airline here is stuck in a hard place simply because nobody in the world saw this coming. Nobody could have planned for it. But Emirates taken a big hit, is taking a big hit as we speak on a daily basis simply because Emirates by default, airlines by default have high fixed costs. Even if they're not flying any passengers, even if the aircraft is just sitting on the ground, it still costs $1 million a day. तो आप कुछ ना करें, सिर्फ सांस लेने के $1 million a day के पैसे हैं for an A380, right? Just to breathe, just to exist. High fixed cost, low flexibility. Low fixed cost, high flexibility. अच्छा, fixed cost का मसला क्या है? Fixed cost का मसला ये है कि fixed cost basically determine how big a hole are you going to leave in the ground. And the software business, if there's any business in the world, is a business that's geared towards low fixed cost. So when you take a software company or a technology company or a services company or a product company, right, and you add fixed cost to it, what do? You're doing something alien to it. So in terms of unit economics, scale economics that we use in our field, in our space, profit margin is a function of आप क्या करेंगे? We go back all the way to our original discussion, product or service. Marginal cost, the cost of serving a single additional incremental unit, whether it's a transaction, whether a billable hour, whether it's a customer, whether it's a shipped product. What is the incremental cost of an extra unit, right? Function of fixed and variable cost. Marginal price, the price you should charge, fixed and variable cost. Break-even point, fixed and variable cost. Break-even volume, fixed and variable cost. Market share also, fixed and variable cost. But ये हम कब पढ़ते हैं? We had one course at FAST ICS in our final year that was accounting and financial management, and that was an elective course, right? A lot of my colleagues and classmates and peers didn't take that course. They took the COBOL and RPT programming course because they said that's more important. But in that finance accounting management course, we studied fixed cost. But again, kitabi knowledge. Then at the MBA stage, again, studied fixed cost. Again, kitabi knowledge. But in real life, it's only when you end up shutting down a business because of fixed costs. That's when you realize how important the balance between fixed and variable costs are. So don't add fixed costs unless and until they're absolutely essentially, especially in the current environment when there is a lot of uncertainty. You know, we spoke about Emirates Airline. Compare Emirates Airline with our fisherman friend from Dodariya. It's not that his life is any easier. It's not that he's facing a tough time. It's not that his life is difficult, right? But in terms of fixed cost, he also has fixed costs, right? His fixed cost was the cost of his boat, depreciated. ठीक है, सस्ती हो गई, 10 साल पुरानी है, कम हो गया, लेकिन है खर्चा तो है. Parking spot at the harbor, fishing license. These are all fixed costs. Variable cost क्या है? Maybe the cost of his team, the people that go with him, the cost of the fuel, the cost of his time. But if you look at his fixed cost, compare his cost with Emirates Airline, who has more flexibility? The fisherman, obviously. So just because you're small and nimble doesn't mean you're at a disadvantage. It actually means in the current environment, you have a huge advantage over others who are not small and nimble. All right, so that's all I had. I'm going to quickly bring it together. We started off with choices and opportunity cost, which is essentially a debate about trade-off. Spoke about walking away and giving up, sunk cost. Spoke about predicting the future. Predicting the future is a function of framing the right questions. Framing the right questions are a function of, yes, you can do it, context and intuition. Asking the right question. Optionality is essentially another name for flexibility. So if you built in flexibility in your organization, in your business, in your products, in your services, you can handle uncertainty. If you don't have optionality, if you don't have flexibility, and you get hit by uncertainty, you have a lot of challenges looking at you. In the absence of uncertainty, in the absence of certainty, faced with uncertainty, your best way forward are small bets. Small bets that get you more data so that you can make a more informed decision. Given a choice between specialization and scale, what should you do? You should specialize first. Scale is a function of fixed costs, right? Fixed costs take you all the way back here and here. Higher fixed costs mean low flexibility and low optionality. And then finally, the last and final point, network effect. If you bring all of these ideas together, the value of this set of ideas improves and increases. So that's all I had. I was given 90 minutes. I think I did just in 90 minutes. Thank you very much for your patience and time. I will take questions now. Over to you. Sir.
अच्छा जवाद भाई मेरा ही क्वेश्चन है पहले और मैं बड़ा देसी स्टाइल का क्वेश्चन है and you work with actuaries as well. मुझे बताइएगा अभी आपने जो आखिर में एग्जांपल दिया of a Boeing and उसका फिशरमैन का कंपैरिजन था. So जो कोलैटरल बेस्ड बिजनेसेस होते हैं या जैसे जो एसेट्स बना के अपना बिल्ड करते हैं बैलेंस शीट को, जो भी कंपनीज होती हैं, जैसे स्टेट लाइफ का हम एग्जांपल पाकिस्तान में देखते थे. ओल्ड मॉडल था कि उसकी बहुत सारी बिजनेस जो थी उसने पूरे पाकिस्तान में बिल्डिंगें अभी भी उसकी प्रॉपर्टीज हैं, उसका रेंटल भी आता है एंड ऑल दैट, और वो फिर अपने बिजनेस मॉडल में उसको इनकॉर्पोरेट कर. तो क्या इनके लिए डिफरेंट होता है हर कंपनी के लिए, मतलब इम्पोर्टेंस ऑफ हैविंग अ फिक्स्ड एसेट और इज डिफरेंट? लेट्स से टेक कंपनी रेंट की जगह पे भी रह सकती है या वेरिएबल कॉस्ट उसकी फोकस करते हुए वो बिल्ड कर सकती है दूसरी चीज़ों पे, और जो इस किस्म के बिजनेसेस हैं उनमें ज़्यादा फोकस होता है. इवन जैसे PIA के था कि भाई रूजवेल्ट वहाँ पे था न्यूयॉर्क में उनके पास. तो मैं ये जानना चाह रहा था क्या हर बिजनेस में डिफरेंट होती है इंपॉर्टेंस ऑफ हैविंग फिक्स्ड एसेट्स?
सो आई थिंक देखें दो तीन चीजें जरूरी हैं. पहले देखें स्टेट लाइफ का जो पोर्टफोलियो है ऑफ बिल्डिंग्स एंड स्पेसेस एंड लोकेशंस, दिस वाज अ पोर्टफोलियो दैट वाज बिल्ट फ्रॉम द पर्पस ऑफ इन्वेस्टमेंट. सो स्टेट लाइफ का चैलेंज ये है कि स्टेट लाइफ एंड मोस्ट इंश्योरेंस कंपनी का चैलेंज ये है कि दे हैव वेरी लॉन्ग टर्म लॉन्ग टेल लायबिलिटीज वेयर दे हैव रिसीव्ड मनी फ्रॉम देयर पॉलिसी होल्डर्स and that money is not due back for another 15 or 20 years. So if you think in terms of investment choices, and if you go back 30, 40, 50 years, look at the early 70s. Early 70s mein, if you had to park money for 30 years, where would you park? Kahan lagate aap? There was no investment opportunity or instrument that would take money for 30 years. Achha, then the question was कि stock market में लगाएं, तो stock market तो आहिस्ता आहिस्ता करके बढ़ता है. It has a limited capacity to take investment or capital. तो फिर क्या बचा आपके पास? गवर्नमेंट के बॉन्ड्स बचे, वहां पे भी लिमिटेड कैपेसिटी है. फिर क्या बचा? रियल एस्टेट बची. So in terms of asset classes, the reason why we look at State Life or any other insurance company for that matter, you'll actually see a lot of real estate on their portfolios, simply because real estate is a good proxy or a reasonable proxy for long-term investment returns, right? And then they got an added benefit कि उन्होंने जमीन ली, उस पर बिल्डिंग बनाई, उसको किराए पे चढ़ा दिया, तो अब कैपिटल अप्रिसिएशन भी हो रही है, किराया भी आ रहा है, तो यील्ड भी आ रही है आपके पास. So the State Life example, you have to look at the context. The context is it's not an asset from an operational point of view. It's an investment portfolio, right? Hence the reason why they have it, right? And to some extent, if you look at the banking world, you'll also see banks build. Agar aap Habib Bank example le lein, for example, right? So Habib Bank Plaza, when it was built originally by the Habib family at that point in time, same logic, same thinking. It's owned by who owns it? अभी तो खैर कॉन्टेक्स्ट नेशनलाइजेशन के बाद चेंज हो गया, बट इट वाज द हबीब फाउंडेशन दैट ओन्ड इट, राइट? एंड तो आप अगर ट्रस्ट बना रहे हैं या आप एक लॉन्ग टर्म इन्वेस्टमेंट का पूल खड़ा करना चाहते हैं, तो इट्स अच्छी कि रियल एस्टेट पर डाल दो, 30 साल 40 साल 50 साल तक पड़े रहेंगे. तो दैट्स द लॉजिक, दैट्स वन. सेकंड, इफ यू थिंक इन टर्म्स ऑफ एयरलाइंस, सो स्केल, अगर आप स्केल करना चाहते हैं, इफ यू वांट टू सर्व 1 million customers, you must have fixed costs. Because scale is a function of fixed. You cannot scale without fixed cost. But in the software world, you can serve 1 million customers with relatively low fixed costs. So for example, if I sell an online product, right? And that online product is bought by my customers online, and it's a product that requires no shipment because it's digital in nature. It requires no storage because it's digital nature. It requires no manufacturing, digital nature, right? So do I need to have high fixed costs? So if you think in terms of Microsoft selling licenses for PowerPoint, or Zoom, selling hours or sessions or membership or subscriptions, right? These are, yes, there is a fixed cost component, right? Because the world will use it. But that fixed cost component is very different compared to building an office, building working spaces, owning an office. So Pakistan environment, mein, specifically technology companies environment, we have this joke, and that joke is, speak to everybody. All of us who've built offices, who've invested in offices, have a pre and a post office stage. A pre office stage is where we all think of कि हमें office बनाना है and we want to own it. हम पैसे रेस करेंगे या profit आएगा तो उससे जगह ले लेंगे, फिर building बनाएंगे, फिर हमारी building बन जाएगी. All of us who build offices have a pre and a post stage. All of us who build offices have always looked to building offices, owning offices. Whether it's in our names, whether it's in the company's name. But the minute we've built it, the minute we've taken our free cash flow and put that into that asset, we've regretted it. Because the minute we've opened it up, the markets changed, the environment's changed, and we could absolutely feel the absence of that cash that we've put into this office. Does that make sense?
Oh yes, double.
It's called the jinx. We call it the real estate jinx. किसी भी technology का बोला वो डूब गई या डूबने के पास बच गई, ये बड़ी मुश्किल से बची, right? And you can speak to anybody in the large tech world, almost all of us will say the same thing, यार बड़ी गलती की थी. अब बहुत अच्छा लगता है कि बन गया, लेकिन जब बना था और जब भुगता था उसके बाद का सिनेरियो, तो तौबा कर लीजिए कि दोबारा कभी ऐसे नहीं करेंगे. ठीक है जी? Did that answer your question? सवाल का जवाब मिला?
जी बिल्कुल. मेरे ख्याल से आल्फा टावर के फेंस बनता है सरकारी प्रॉपर्टी के हद तक सही है.
बिल्कुल. हम छोटों के लिए नहीं बनता.
सही. ठीक.
जी और पूछें और सवाल.
Yes. So we had some questions in the जो जिन्होंने लिखा हुआ था in the chat. Azim Baloch कह रहे हैं customer lifetime value should be greater than customer acquisition cost. That's technical debt. We have to pay it off sooner or later. ये तो उनकी opinion है. आपने आंसर दिया है. सही है. Depends on ये ज़्यादा observation. What's the framework of selecting a model? Any
तो एक
attributes to work on for a software as a service?
एक करके कर लें. I think जो LTV is greater than CAC का जो सवाल था, वो context ये है कि what we've learned over the years is कि वो businesses और वो model जहाँ पे customers का, so if you think in terms of lifetime value improves by frequency of purchase. अगर आपका customer जिंदगी में एक चीज इस्तेमाल करता है, एक दफा आता है, तो lifetime value different है. If he comes every year, different है. He comes every month, every week, different है, right? So जब when you look at models, a model where the purchase frequency of a customer is higher than a model where the purchase frequency is lower, and everything else being held equal, the model where the customer buys more and more frequently is better than a model where the customer buys less. So I built many businesses. Some of the businesses the customer buys once a year. Some business customer buys once in a lifetime. अगर आप इस चीज को समझ लें कि बिजनेस बनाने में जान जाती है, टाइम जाता है, जिंदगी में आप 5, 6, 7 बना लेंगे, 7 नहीं बनाएंगे. Pick ideas where lifetime value is greater than CAC is true compared to ideas where it's less true. So that's the comment. That's the second. इसके बाद वाला सवाल पूछिए आपका. Second सवाल था.
Software as a service वाला.
हाँ बताएं. What was the question?
What's the framework of selecting a model? Any attributes to work on for a software as a service? We should ये इसमें आगे लिखा हुआ भी इन्होंने, we should the projections may be wrong, but you would build an understanding of why this model didn't work and have clarification of why the other model would work. So basically a framework for SaaS. That's what they are.
So I think वही सवाल जो हमने पहले जवाब दिया था कि अगर आपके पास, if you have a structure, if you have a context where you can encourage customers to buy more and buy more frequently, so if मैं आपको example देता हूँ, I work in the regulatory space. तो regulatory space में हमारे पास quarterly disclosures आते हैं. These are disclosures that need to be done at the end of every quarter. So 4 दफा आते हैं साल में. तो 31st December, 31st March, 30th June, and then September, right? तो ये साल में 4 दफा आता है. This basically means the customer is going to come back every year, 4 times in a year, because he needs to get this work done, right? So a model where you focus on regulatory compliance, and you could do this as a service, you could do this on the cloud. One of the companies that we've all heard of is a small player, not a small player, very large player in Karachi. They do this on the cloud for the banking industry. And they've been doing this, I think, for about 10 to 12 years now. So their primary customer base is North American. And what happens is the customer uploads the data into their cloud service. And 4 days later, the reports, which is basically a thick bunch of regulatory requirements, are done. And customer downloads it. And now in this process, the upfront investment is basically integration with their cloud environment and running some basic validation checks so that the data feeds coming from the customer are in alignment with what's required. Once that is done, in this model, for the rest of their life, as long as the customer stays, they will get a quarterly check every quarter for service that they provided. There's some support required, there's some intervention required, right? But no resources need to be on site. Does that make sense? So models like these, where so there are some models where upfront fixed costs are required because you're building the product, you're adding the infrastructure, you sort of testing things out. But once that initial investment is done, then on an ongoing basis, your variable costs are also quite low. Did that answer the question? जवाब मिला?
हमारे पास अजीम है अभी तक ऑडियंस में? Azim is not there. Sorry.
Not bad.
Any other questions आप लिख सकते हैं या बता दीजिए, या इमरान आपका कोई क्वेश्चन है? अल्ताफ भी है, इमरान. So we have like 5-10 minutes more. अगर
I'm actually just going to go through the question. That's why I've turned the vote. I can go through the sawalat and see the questions.
वैसे हमसे एक जनरल सवाल होता है स्टार्टअप्स का, यूजुअली जो प्रोडक्ट ही बना रहे होते हैं, क्योंकि इंक्यूबेशन सेंटर में आते ही प्रोडक्ट बेस्ड स्टार्टअप्स हैं. तो वो जो एक कॉमन क्वेश्चन है वो यही होता है कि मोस्ट ऑफ देम अब जो डेवलप कर रहे हैं प्रोडक्ट, इट टेक्स टाइम एंड जाहिर है बिल्ड कर रहे हैं सारी चीजें. सो वो जो साथ में जब उन्हें फ्रीलांसिंग करके या यही सर्विसेज का काम करके कुछ रेवेन्यू करना है उनका, लेट्स से दे डोंट हैव अ स्टेबल रेवेन्यू, और उनके पास मतलब इनकम नहीं है कहीं से, और उनको इनकम, एक्स्ट्रा इनकम के लिए सर्विसेज का काम करना पड़ रहा है या फ्रीलांसिंग करनी पड़ रही है, तो उनका फोकस प्रोडक्ट से दूर तो हो जाता है उस टाइम में. तो ये कब उन्हें, मतलब ये फैसला कितना मुश्किल होता है, मतलब ये कितना लंबा प्रोडक्ट, इससे डिले जो आपने बताया प्रोडक्ट डिले का टाइम ज्यादा लंबा होता जाएगा या क्या, या दैट्स नेचुरल कि उन्हें अपना पैसे पूरे करने हैं इसलिए वो सर्विसेज और फ्रीलांसिंग का काम कर रहे हैं. हम आए दिन रोजाना देखते हैं.
This is a very difficult challenge and I think इसमें मसला सारा ये कि पहली चीज है कि हर एक का अपना पाथ डिफरेंट होता है. So we've all walked different paths and we're all going to walk different paths. So whatever I say is not a recommended recipe, but in most instances होता है कि हम सब के सब services से start करते हैं. We run experiments on the side and if one of those experiment takes hold and starts generating revenue, तो हम product के बारे में सोचना start करते हैं. If I look at almost everyone who would now essentially be a big established player, I think all of us started as services setups where we just offered a service. और फिर कुछ पैसे बन गए, कुछ अच्छा साल आए. एक अच्छा साल जो आया उस अच्छे साल में हमने थोड़े से पैसे निकाले और हमने कहा कि अच्छा ये अच्छा साल हमेशा नहीं रहेगा तो कुछ इन्वेस्ट करते हैं. एंड द प्रोडक्ट वाज इनिशियली एन इन्वेस्टमेंट केस for a time when the services business would not do well. And sometimes those bets paid off. Most times those bets didn't pay off. So if I look at successful products, I'd say कि अगर हमने एक अच्छी product बनाई जो successful हुई and that started paying off its kharcha, I would say that for every one successful product, we had about 8 or 10 that did not do well. So the hit ratio even for the successful product company is also 1 in 10. So then you go back to what I said earlier, कि छोटी bets हैं. You don't make big bet. You don't make a bet that says कि जी हम 4 साल लगाएंगे product बनाने में. No, don't do that. Make small bets, which is basically कि we'll take 4 weekends, 2 दिन लगा के 8 दिन बना के एक छोटी सी चीज बना के sample कर लेते हैं and see where it goes. And if we get traction, we get validation, we get good feedback, फिर हम 2-3 हफ्ते और लगा लेंगे. तो products incrementally बनती हैं, marginally बनती हैं, piece by piece, piecemeal बनती हैं. And they get built over a period of years. They don't happen overnight. They don't happen in 3 months or 4 months or 6 months. Did that answer the question?
जी. अच्छा, so वैसे उन्होंने कुछ ने 2-3 हमारे पार्टिसिपेंट्स ने मुझसे प्राइवेटली रिक्वेस्ट किया है आपकी प्रेजेंटेशन का तारीफ के साथ के. वन ऑफ देम लेफ्ट एंड उसने कहा कि ग्रेट सेशन. ये मैं बता भी देता हूँ, इंटरेस्टिंग. उसने कमेंट लिखा, वेरी लर्नड गाय, और उन्होंने कैप्स में लिखा, आई नीड हिज प्रेजेंटेशन प्लीज.
जी वो मिल जाएगी. मैं अभी आई विल रिकॉर्ड दिस एंड देन आई विल मैं आपको इसका जो पावर पॉइंट का डेक है मैं आपको ईमेल कर दूंगा. नो वरीज, नो इश्यू.
Great. Any other questions before we conclude? I think so that's about it. Give us your feedback. हमने Facebook पे भी है, Zoom पे भी है. And Jawad, any parting note?
Thank you very much for the time and the opportunity. This was fun. As I said, I teach. Teaching is something that I've always enjoyed doing, and I hope कि आपको फायदा हुआ and this was beneficial. And if anybody has queries and questions, please feel free to share my email address with them. They're there in the PowerPoint deck also. I'd be happy to answer. I'm a little slow in answering emails. You might have to try maybe once or twice with reminders, but ultimately I'll answer them.
Great. Thank you for your time. Thank you. बहुत अच्छा मजा आया मुझे.